Released in 2018 by the Croatian Gamepires and published by developer Digital, SCUM calls itself the most advanced survival simulator ever made. I call it the running simulator. The intro video really captures what devs were trying to achieve here, with a fun note of the turbo folk music from Balkans playing where prisoner breaks into the bunker. Another point which accurately lets you know exactly what to expect is in the intro scene, the AK that gets jammed. And as you'll go along, SCUM really aimed for the real world representation of survival experience. And the learning curve in the game is one of the biggest I have ever seen in gaming ever. While one might argue that full release and the version 1.0 took too long and it was released only in mid of 2025, from another point of view, looking at the other games that call themselves a full release way earlier than they should have and came out in the last 10 years, SCUM is the least buggy of all, at least in my opinion. Not bug-free, but least buggy. It seems that in Croatia they do case studies and actually learn from other people's mistakes. Or do they? Looking at the server's availability, population seems to be thriving. You can even set up your own server quite fast and have it running in no time. Some of the options that strike me about SCUM is the character creation, the looks, the aging, the skills, the dick size. SCUM is not just about fighting or exploring, it's about surviving. Every detail of the human body is simulated. It's a test of patience, knowledge and human instinct. Unlike the giant names of the gaming industry, Gamepires was a young team, known only for few racing titles before this project, but they had an ambitious idea to build the most realistic survival game ever made. The studio partnered with developer Digital, a publisher famous for bold, unusual games. Together, they set out to create something that could stand apart from DayZ, Rust or Ark, Survival Evolved, titles already popular in the survival genre. The key difference would be one word: realism. SCUM entered early access in August of 2018. From the beginning it was clear that this was not a typical survival game. The developers wanted to simulate the human body with detail never seen before. From digestion, muscle growth, to even how bullets move through organs. This attention to science and systems gave SCUM its reputation as the ultimate survival simulator. But ambition comes with challenges. In early access, SCUM was raw, sometimes unstable and filled with bugs. Still, players were fascinated. Thousands joined the experiment, eager to see just how far realism in the video game could go. The developers promised constant updates, and over the years they added weapons, vehicles, base building and more complex survival systems. Yet development was never simple. Balancing such a complex game meant long gaps between updates. The fans were excited but sometimes frustrated. Some wondered, would SCUM ever reach its full vision? Or was the project too big for such a small studio? Behind all of this lies the bigger question: what makes survival fun? From Gamepires, the answer was clear: survival should feel real. And to achieve that, they pushed the limits of what survival games could be. At the heart of the game lies a brutal idea: a dystopian reality show, where prisoners are sent to a remote island, forced to fight, struggle and survive for the amusement of the outside world. The island itself is vast, stretching across forests, mountains, swamps and abandoned towns. At first glance it all looks peaceful: sunlight on the trees, river floating quietly, wildlife roaming free. But this calm hides danger: military bases guarded by giant robotic sentries, empty villages that echo with silence, dark bunkers filled with loot and with death. I must say that the developers went in great extent to showcase the world which it is, and it looks much like Croatia. Even the names of cities and monuments are Croatian. For prisoners, the island is both a cage and an arena. There is no escape. Instead, every player must learn to use land, to hunt animals, gather food and build shelter. They must also scavenge through ruins, searching for weapons and supplies, always watching their back for other survivors. But it's not just wilderness survival story, it's a performance. The prisoner lives are entertainment, the pain a product to be consumed. In this way, SCUM holds up a mirror to reality show in our world where humiliation and struggle are turned into spectacle for mass audiences. The setting then is more than a backdrop. It's a settlement, it's a vision of the future, or perhaps a warning about the present. In our world, reality television already thrives on humiliation, conflict and spectacle, but the game goes deeper. When resources are scarce, do we share or do we take? When dangers loom, do we trust or do we betray? On every server, players create their own answers. Some form tribes, building order in the chaos. Others embrace violence, becoming predators who hunt the weak. In this way, SCUM becomes a laboratory of human behavior, a digital experiment in survival and morality. The game also commends on freedom and control. The island feels open, yet it's a prison. At its core, SCUM is about struggle. Struggle against hunger, against weather, against machines and monsters, but above all, against each other. And in that struggle we see not only the game's prisoners, but ourselves, our fears, our instincts, and the thin line between survival and savagery. SCUM does not answer these questions, it simply asks them, leaving the player to decide what kind of survivor they choose to become, and what the choice says about them. At the center of SCUM are systems that decide who lives and who dies. Unlike many survival games where food and water are simple matters to fill, SCUM goes much further. Every decision has weight, every resource a purpose. A player cannot simply eat to survive, they must eat the right things. Vitamins, minerals and calories all matter. Too much sugar and the body weakens. Too little protein and strength fades. Even the size of a meal changes how fast it can be digested. This forces players to think like real survivors, planning diets, hunting wild animals, cooking food and farming the land. Health is just as complex, it's not just damage, it's bleeding, infection and recovery. A bullet to the arm will reduce aiming, a broken leg will make travel nearly impossible. Even cold weather can drain energy or cause illness. Bandages, medicine and the rest are not optional, they are the difference between the life and death. Crafting ties it all together. From scraps and cloth, player can create clothing. From sticks and stones, they can build spears, bows and even shelters. Metal parts gathered from ruins become firearms and ammunition. Over time, a skilled survivor can turn nothing into a base, a home defended against the chaos of the island. Every mechanic in SCUM is designed to ask the same question: how well can you adapt? In this world, survival is not about luck, it's about knowledge, preparation and the ability to turn weakness into strength. Where other games simplify, SCUM insists on detail. The detail is both its strength and its challenge. At the very core of this vision is the metabolism system. Hidden beneath the surface is a constant calculation, tracking digestion, muscle mass, body fat, hydration and dozens of other values. A player who runs long distances will burn calories. If they eat too much, the body gains weight, slowing them down. If they starve, muscle disappears, making them weaker in combat. Even the balance of sodium, potassium and vitamins is measured, shaping health and performance. Combat follows the same philosophy. SCUM's ballistic model treats every bullet as a real physical object. A shot does not simply hit, it travels, it drops, it penetrates, and it damages organs depending on its path. A bullet that passes through the stomach may not kill instantly, but it leaves the player bleeding, infected and forced to find a treatment. Armor, bone and even clothing affect how much damage a bullet does. The world itself is a part of this realism. Weather systems bring cold winds and rain that sap body heat. Wet clothes take longer to dry and weigh more. Carrying too much gear exhausts stamina faster. Even the angle of a hill changes how quickly a character tires. This level of detail makes SCUM unique, but it also makes it demanding. To thrive, players must not only fight and explore, they must constantly learn. They must read the body like a map, balancing weight, energy and health as carefully as their weapons and shelter. In this way, SCUM is both game and a test of knowledge. It forces players to respect the smallest detail, because in this world it's not the strongest who survive, but the most prepared. Every server is a living society, shaped by its population. Some players arrive alone, hunting quietly in the forests, avoiding contact. Others form groups, building fortified bases, raiding enemies and controlling valuable areas like military compounds or airfields. In these moments, SCUM becomes more than a survival simulator, it becomes a social experiment. Trust is rare. A friendly wave may hide a trap. A partner may turn into a rival when resources run low. This constant uncertainty creates tension with every encounter. Do you risk cooperation, sharing food and protection, or do you strike first, ensuring your own survival at the cost of another's? The game's mechanics reinforce this fragile balance. Base building allows players to carve out territory, crafting safe zones or targets. These bases can be raided, forcing players to guard, reinforce and defend what they built. Vehicles give mobility and power, but they also make players visible. Loot drops scattered from the sky spark fierce firefights, drawing survivors into direct conflict. Yet not all players are the same. Some communities choose strict realism, where death is permanent and the rules are harsh. Others embrace roleplay, creating entire societies with laws, trade and diplomacy. This variety shows SCUM's greatest strength. It does not dictate how players must behave. It gives them a world and lets human nature decide the rest. In this way, SCUM reflects a simple truth. Alone, survival is hard. Together it might be easier, but the trust is always the rarest resource of all. Beyond the players, the most obvious are the puppets, mindless, infected humans roaming through towns and fields. At first glance they seem weak, slow and easy to avoid, but in numbers they overwhelm. Even a single puppet can turn a quiet search for supplies into chaos. Then there are mechs, towering armored machines patrolling military bases and prisons. To face a mech is a suicide. To outsmart one is the test of patience and timing. For many, these machines are not just enemies, they are guardians, keeping the best loot behind walls of steel and fear. But danger does not always walk, sometimes it falls from the sky. Airdrops descend without warning, containers filled with rare supplies. Their parachutes can be seen from miles away, and every survivor knows what they mean: an opportunity and conflict. Reaching one is a prize, reaching one too late is often a death sentence. These NPCs and events change the rhythm of the game. They create tension, movement and risk. The puppets make even simple looting dangerous. In SCUM, the island is never quiet. Every sound, every shadow, every distant explosion reminds players that the danger is always near, and survival is never guaranteed. When SCUM first launched its early access in 2018, the gaming world took notice. It was immediately described as one of the most ambitious survival games ever attempted. Within weeks, SCUM sold over 1 million copies, a strong start for a new studio from Croatia. But the early excitement quickly met reality. Players praised the vision, the scale and the detail. Yet many also felt the frustration. Some called SCUM brilliant but unfinished. Others abandoned it, unsure if the dream could ever be realized. Over time, the community divided into two groups. One on the side were the casual players, hoping for a smoother, more accessible experience. On the other were dedicated survivalists, those who embraced the game's brutal realism and wanted it to become even harsher. This split shaped SCUM's identity. Too complex for some, but perfectly designed for a niche audience that craved depth over simplicity. Through these worlds, SCUM became not just a game, but a platform where players shaped their own stories. Critics remained cautious, often describing SCUM as ambitious but unfinished. Yet its loyal player base defended it passionately, pointing to each new update as proof that progress was being made. The introduction of vehicles, base building and new weapons kept interest alive, even if the road was slower than many expected. Today, SCUM is remembered less as a mainstream hit and more as a cult survival experience. It never replaced Rust or DayZ in popularity, but it earned respect as a game that declared to be different. A simulation too complex for the masses, but deeply rewarding for those who stayed. In the end, SCUM's greatest achievement may not be its systems but its community. A community that continues to shape the island, creating alliances, wars and stories that no developer could ever script. For them, SCUM is not just a survival game, it's a living world. The survival genre is crowded, from DayZ to Rust, from Ark Survival to Forest. Players have faced countless worlds filled with hunger, danger and competition. To survive in this landscape, a game must stand apart. Where Rust thrives on chaos and constant player conflict, DayZ focuses on atmosphere and emergent storytelling. SCUM takes a different path. Its strength lies in simulation. No other survival game has attempted such detailed model of the human body, tracking digestion, muscle mass, stamina and health with scientific precision. In the forest, survival is about exploration and story. In Ark, it's about taming dinosaurs and building empires. But in SCUM, Survival is about the body itself, the fine balance between nutrition, strength and endurance. This sets it apart, making it the most technical of survival experience. While Rust offers fast-paced raids and DayZ offers tense encounters with strangers, SCUM often demands patience, learning and long hours of preparation. SCUM never reached the same popularity as its competitors, but it earned a reputation as the most ambitious survival simulator ever made. For some, it's a masterpiece, a vision of what survival games could be. For others, it's too much, too complex and too slow. But in the history of your genre, SCUM holds a unique piece. It showed that survival games could go beyond simple hunger bars and weapon crafting, and instead explore human body and the mind as a true battlefield. It may not be the most played survival game, but it's perhaps the boldest, a game that declared to be different. For some, progress felt too slow and the updates too far apart. Bugs remain, balance is uneven, and many promised systems like advanced AI functions or story-driven events are still missing. This uncertainty has left some players drifting away, and yet others remain hopeful. They see the steady progress, the dedication of a small studio continuing to push forward despite limited resources. For these players, SCUM is already a one-of-a-kind experience, unique, unlike any other survival game on the market. They believe that, given the time, it will reach its full potential. The truth lies somewhere in between. SCUM is both a remarkable achievement and an unfinished experiment. Its future depends on whether the Gamepires can balance ambition with reality, delivering on promises while keeping the community engaged. One thing is certain, SCUM has already proven that survival games can aim higher, that they can simulate not just hunger and thirst, but the very biology of human life. Whether it reaches its final vision or remains an unfinished masterpiece, SCUM has changed the way players think about survival. The island is still evolving, its story is not yet complete, and those who still believe it, the future of SCUM is a question of not if, but when. And so, SCUM stands as both warning and a challenge, a reminder of how fragile survival is, how thin the line between order and chaos is, and how far people will go when the world is watching. On the other side, there is no script, no certainty, no guarantee, only survival and the story you create.